The evolution of skateboarding tricks. Skateboarding. What is it? Skateboarding, which began as a hobby and art form in the 1950s, has developed into a multi-billion-dollar industry that affects millions of lives worldwide. Skateboarding has established a unique place in the core of freedom culture through the opening of its museums, the creation of its Hall of Fame, and the curation of its self-documented history. The skating legacy was ignited by the California launch ramp in the 1950s and will continue to be passed down to succeeding generations. Skateboarding transcended the ups and downs of mainstream popularity and economic prosperity during these decades as various faces and characters ruled the back alleys of urban performance or basked in the spotlight. With every generational shift, the question, what is skateboarding, transforms the younger skateboarders and the aging skateboarders who have witnessed its growth and evolution. We take our initial step into a wider universe while trying our best to respond to this topic once more. A universe where mobility, the purest form of freedom, and a close examination of skateboarding history characterize it. Make sure you understand the ABCs. Origins. From here on, things only get worse. Just like the genesis of our universe, the origin of the skateboard is unclear. There are several accounts of who, what, and where the first skateboards arrived, all from self-described skate historians. Most people assume that skateboards first appeared in the USA as wooden boxes with roller derby skates fastened to the bottom. Like modern scooters, the original models had handlebars connected. However, over time, wooden planks took the place of the boxes, and the handlebars were removed to create a more surfing-like feel. Although these scooter boxes have been around since the late 1800s, Southern California's downhill slopes did not see the widespread use of wooden pallets with clay wheels until the 1950s. Making your skateboard was the only option available until 1959 when commercial skateboards started to be sold. The do-it-yourself attitude that permeates skating today was planted by these handcrafted skateboards. Skateboarding, in all its raw and gorgeous beauty, was born out of an ardent need for personal expression rather than an enterprise. Our first step toward answering the question, what is skateboarding? And eventually, what does it mean to be a skateboarder? Is realizing this straightforward yet significant reality. Skateboarding's initial competitions. It's hard to picture ourselves in Dogtown in the 1950s or 1970s when skateboarding first gained popularity. How much skateboarding would alter since its inception would be even harder to imagine. Skateboard manufacturers such as Hobie and Makaha promoted skating as a sidewalk surfing alternative to surfing during flat waves in the early 1960s. In 1963, Makaha established the first professional skateboarding team, and that same year they participated in the first ever skateboarding championship in Hermosa, California. While the death-defying present-day San Francisco Hill Bombs are the only surviving elements of the early 1960s downhill skating championships, the freestyle competition formats and most of the tricks performed at the Hermosa tournament are now but a faint memory of modern skateboarding. Skateboarding's popularity in American sports peaked in 1965 despite its novelty. Attendance at roller derby competitions was higher than that of skateboarding competitions. The media started portraying skateboarding as a risky sport, and the clay wheels and handstands became as monotonous as spending all day staring at a hula hooper. Knowing how skateboarding almost disappeared means knowing why its original forms are now extinct. More significantly, though, when we compare these periods to the current state of skateboarding, we can observe one of the biggest changes in the history of the sport from the 20th to the 21st century. Reimagining the wheel and the original skate parks. Not metaphorically. Frank Nosworthy, who popularized skating with a urethane wheel in 1973, revolutionized the skateboard wheel. The new wheel grabbed the asphalt and pool walls like cleats on grass, replacing the cumbersome clay wheels of the 1950s and 60s. A new definition of a professional skateboard emerged with the development of the kicktail or raised rear end of the board. With the global expansion of the skating obsession, the local surf store was selling skateboarding magazines with horses featured in them. In 1976, the first skate park appeared in Florida, just 3 years after the invention of the skateboard wheel. Skate parks started popping up in North and South America before the decade was over, and then quickly spread to Europe and Asia. The best-known example of skateboarding's mainstream emergence in the 1970s was the 2005 movie Lords of Dogtown. At the Ocean Festival in Del Mar, California in 1975, as depicted in the movie, Tony Alva's Zephyr skateboarding team demonstrated the potential of skateboarding worldwide. This pivotal point in skating history sets the stage for future developments in the sport and the evolution of skateboarding competitions. But before the 1980s were over, skateboarding would see yet another almost fatal accident. Skateboarding's popularity faded as shady foreign organizations started to infiltrate its competitions through Trojan horse contracts and oversaturation of events, leaving behind a hermetic community of freedom searchers who triumphed in America's deserted backyard pools. Because of the risk of injuries associated with skating, insurance rates were so high that skate park construction had stopped. Skating therefore became the signature sport of the punk scene of the 1980s and the anti-establishment lifestyle that was no longer tolerated by corporations looking for the next big thing or so-called parents. Tony Hawk shoots it between 0 and 900. Not until Tony Hawk hit his 900 in the 1999 X Games would Zephyr Skateboards do what it accomplished for the skateboarding world that year in Del March on June 27, 1999. Hawk made history by landing the most recognizable trick in skateboarding history during his 11th visit to the Summer X Games vert ramp. No skateboarder could have predicted at the time how much Hawk's 2.5 revolutions would propel skateboarding into a whole new level of popularity. But skating had already experienced a significant transition in the 1980s and early 1990s when Hawk formally returned professional skateboarding to the mainstream. Most people who don't skateboard or skateboarders alike will vouch for the importance of Tony Hawk's 900. However, the majority of non-skaters are unaware of the true significance of the 1980s and 1990s for skateboarding. At that time, the misfits of society created street skateboarding. Everything we've learned about skateboarding was established, and the blueprints for professional street skating were drawn. The skate community recognized their respective niches. After Kurt Lindgren created the kickflip in 1978, Rodney Mullen created several more flip tricks in the 1980s with the use of a new skateboard built for aerial maneuvers. Nedas Capas and Mark the Gons Gonzalez, the pioneers of street-only skateboarding, set the standard once more by board sliding the first handrails. Skateboarding moved from ramp builders' backyards to grocery store parking lots full of red curbs. Since skateboarders were not allowed to be included in mainstream media, they had the opportunity to record their own culture through their own eyes. This gave skateboarders the ability to create their own media culture and counteract the very factors that caused skating to see two significant declines in popularity in the late 1960s and early 1980s. From 1993 until 2006, when skateboarders gained complete control over the tools of producing skate culture, street skating reached its peak. During these years, skate parks were synonymous with public park planning. We witnessed the rise of Chad Muska and Shorty's, the famed Love Park era, a THP's video game franchise, and videos like Mouse and Yeah Right by Girl Skateboards. The global trick. Skateboarding's relationship with society shifted in the post-Hawk era as the sport developed. As the meaning of a professional skateboarder changed from competition skating to video parts, and as mainstream skate culture saw itself in new types of entertainment, skateboarding became more deeply ingrained in street skating. Later, Bam Margera would mock a career as a professional skateboarder in the reality series Viva La Bam. Skateboarding became more popular when businesses joined the fray and the wealthiest skaters started to earn obvious salaries. Skateboarding has advanced to become the most influential board sport in modern culture, taking another quantum leap in its evolution from a faddish pastime. The introduction of skateboarding to the largest athletic arena on the planet, Tokyo 2020, not only sparked a renewed global interest in the sport, but also initiated the World Skateboarding Tour, the qualifying series leading up to Paris 2024. Skaters from over 50 countries compete for ranking points at each stop, which includes Argentina, Italy, the United Arab Emirates, Switzerland, and Japan in an attempt to secure a spot on the podium when the world comes to Paris and stardom calls. So if this is the end of our today's video, do you like it? Kindly give your valuable response in our comment section below, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more interesting and informative videos.